All good. What is up, everybody, and good evening, and welcome to the Angry American Nation podcast with your favorite Angry American. And as always, we have the illustrious Sue LaRue with us tonight and Bob Toombs of Mountain Readiness. And our guest tonight is Josh with Stoney Ridge Farms, a serious homesteader who's doing it for real, who understands the needs of food, being able to food production, being able to produce your own food. And no matter what you store, if you're not have the ability to produce food, you're going to be in trouble. And Josh, that's what you're working towards, right? You're looking for that more self-sufficiency in life at Stoney Ridge, right?
Yeah, that's it, man. It's all about the need for feed, not the need for speed. So
I love that. I've never heard that before. The need for feed. That's actually really good.
That's it. Yeah. I man, this is something I touch on a lot on the channel. I'll go into some rants. My YouTube, my social media handle is Stoney Ridge Farmer. If you guys don't know who I am, I'm on basically all the networks or whatever, but my main platform is YouTube. And I met T through the Mountain Readiness event this past year. Enjoyed that. Super awesome. If you guys are local, anywhere close to North Carolina, go to that event. It's awesome. That was great last year, and I can only see it. Hopefully you're going to do it again this year. I can only see it getting better and better and better. So
we've got one in October.
Nice.
Most definitely. October and the first weekend of May. So I'll be talking with you before we hit that point, Josh.
Okay, cool. Good deal.
Awesome.
Well,
it'll be nice to get back out there, dude, because, with Mountain Readiness, the first one went so well. And now this is going to be our second one that we're going to do. Little different take, more of a gathering than anything, but there's lots of classes going to be there, lots of fun. This is going to be a family-friendly event where we're going to have trick-or-treating for kids and costume contests and all kinds of fun like that. And we're going to run things a little different tonight. We're not going to be answering comments. We're not really going to respond to your comments until later in the show. So if you've got something specifically you want to ask Josh in regards to homesteading, food production, livestock, all that kind of stuff, animal husbandry, put hashtag Stoney Ridge Farmer in your comment, and we'll get those corralled off to the side, and we'll respond to as many of them as we can, as long as Josh wants to answer them. All right, Josh.
Yeah, I'm here for the duration, however long it takes, brother.
Awesome. So you've got a 150-acre homestead in North Carolina, right?
Yeah. So I can give you a little history on the whole thing here. I was an angry American. I grew up.
You still are.
Maybe so. I grew up in the country. I'm not a whiner, though. I'll tell you that. I grew up in the country, and I grew up on a bit of a homestead. We had cattle, and we had sheep and goats and pigs, and we raised hogs every year. And Dad pretty much was raised by people who ate soul food. My great grandfather taught my dad how to process hogs and preserve meat and stuff like that. And this has been passed on to me. We've got a whole 3 or 4 part series on the old timey Appalachian hog kill. And that was absolutely great. Fantastic to do that with my dad. And anyhow, I grew up that way. And I went in the military right out of high school, went in the Air Force, spent my 4.5 years, and lived in Utah. I was stationed out there and started my first business, bought my first piece of what they call horse property out there, which was 1 acre. So
your ranchette.
That's it. Started growing on my ranchette. We called it the Chicken Ranch, and it was a party place pretty much because I was 20 years old, man, and I had 22 years old. I had the party house. So everybody came to the Chicken Ranch. We brought chickens in, set them on our shoulder at night, and all play games and have fun. So leading into that, that's about the time that our 9/11 hit. So I got out just before that, and I started my own business. It was called Mr. Fix-It Handyman Services. And I just did odd jobs, and 9/11 hit, and it just poof. And at that time, I bought a bunch of houses up. I was 23 years old, and I had about 7 houses. and
Wow.
I was chasing that real estate dream. And I ended up having to go back to school. So I'm a registered nurse also. I started out, I was an electrician in the Air Force. I was a lineman, one of the macho jobs of Air Force people that you don't hear about. And then I got my nursing degree and I moved back home, closer to home. I moved back to North Carolina. I grew up in Martinsville, Virginia, and NASCAR town there. And,
yeah, boy.
Then we bought some property. My wife and I got married, and I told her on the first date, I want to get back to the country. I want to live a good, clean country life, and I want to be more self-sustainable. And this started with honeybees. So, a spoonful of honey and a spoonful of bee pollen is enough to sustain a man for the day, right? For one day, it really is. So, a tablespoon. So
I used to raise bees too. I had hives, several hives for quite a while.
Yeah. So I did that. I called them Mountain Dew bees because we were in town. I had a third of an acre. I lived in downtown for a while and did the little party date thing. I played music in bands and stuff like that. And I did all that. And then I bought a little place and started growing a huge garden. It looked like Jurassic Park. Figured out an ecosystem in that garden. I had chickens, honeybees. Had a deal with the local organic food store, so I got all their scraps every day. We would vermicompost, so everything was just a self-sustaining system in there. And took it to the next level. And moved up to the farm, bought about 60 acres from one of my patients, and came up here to a briar patch. And now, if you look at the channel, it's no longer a briar patch; it's a full-on working cattle farm and homestead. So,
yeah, you've done a ton of work on that patch of dirt since you acquired it, because I've watched some of your videos, quite a few of your videos, and it's amazing to just watch land management progress and evolve over time. What kind of cattle are you raising?
So currently we are with we have Angus beef cows, and we're breeding in a breed called the South Pole. So we just bought what's called a South Pole bull, and it's supposed to be better grass genetics. So what we do is we're going to breed our Angus to the South Pole and try to breed in some better grass genetics into the farm. We're in the cattle production about the third year right now. We started out with 2, went up to 4, and now we're at 50. So
wow,
that's pretty quick.
Yeah, we went up pretty quick. I bought a herd from a guy 2 years ago, and we had 16. And the numbers just keep going up. And eventually the goal is to have about 100 and to process somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 a year and sell beef direct to the public. I'm working through that this year. Hopefully by mid-October, I'll have a mail order system where people can order beef right off the farm.
Well, let me know when that's ready, because I'll be a customer for sure. Are you running any through the auction, or are you just raising right now?
So I started out doing that, man, and it just doesn't make any sense for me to raise such a premium product. These cows get no medications unless they're sick. They get no steroids, and they get no antibiotics in their food. They get no grain. It's all grass fed. It's all native grasses and grasses that come up on the farm. It's all there's no fertilizer sprayed put on the farm, applied to the farm. There's no chemicals put on the farm. There's no poisons on the farm. It's just cows on grass, and if they thrive, they thrive, and if they don't, they go bye-bye. They either go to freezer camp or they go to the market.
Sue, what kind of cattle are you raising, man?
I kind of did the same thing. I accidentally ended up with a 2 Brahmas. That's what we started off with. I went to the auction to get some poultry, and then ended up coming back with 2 calves in the back seat of my F-250. You've seen that video. And but
you didn't have them in the truck before you had the fence built, did you?
Well, I had the pasture built. What I did was I just leased my neighbor's property on the other side of the creek, and he's getting older, and he hates to see the encroachment of all these subdivisions and stuff on there. So we got together. He's a great guy and everything. And I said, well, let me lease the property. And he said, well, you just build it up and make it look country and put the pasture or put the fence up around the pasture. We'll consider that your lease payment. And I said, fantastic. Wow, yeah. So Robbie and I started out with that. And we went to, we got 3 we're at 3 Angus heifers now. We're getting one more. And one of those heifers that we bought, I got the receipt that says heifers on them, peed out of her belly. And I was like, that's not a heifer. That's not a heifer. So I have a Brahma bull that I haven't figured out what to do with, but my wife's already named it Charlie. So hopefully I can make it gentle like a Brahma bull in India instead of the Brahma bull that I used to see at the rodeo trying to hook your ass. So,
absolutely.
But we have chickens.
Hey.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sue.
We have chickens too. We have ducks and everything. And so I hope that you can make it to the fallout, because I'll be hanging all kinds of questions in your ear there. I really have a lot of questions. I've been trying to do this kind of thing, and that's why I'm part of this group. Is we were talking about self-reliant communities, and if you read the Going Home series, Chris Weatherman's books, it talks about communities getting together and sharing skills, and like you said, the need for feed, keeping people alive and sustaining is a community effort, not just one family or one guy or bushcraft. Bushcraft will keep you alive for a while, but it won't sustain you. You know what I mean?
It's hard living, though. That's that hunter-gatherer thing. We stopped doing that a long time ago for a reason. And real quick, I want to remind everybody, guys, don't forget that after this, over on Rumble, we do the On the Rock show. So stick around and jump over there and catch us on Rumble through Patreon. So, Josh, with that many cattle that you're running, I mean, you've got plenty of acreage. I don't know, what's like the acreage per beef up in North Carolina area? Like, what's your minimum that you're trying to run one cow on? And then the second part of the question is, are you using rotational grazing and pushing them through, or how are you doing it?
Yeah. So what I'm doing on the farm right now is intensive rotational grazing. They're moving twice a day out here on the farm. So our grass never has a chance to get stunted. Hopefully never has a chance. So we're in the building phase right now, and we have hiccups and we have issues. And then I travel sometimes for the social media business. So I'll go to Minnesota. I'll open up enough for them to have 3 days worth. And so what our goal is to move twice a day in the summertime, about once every other day in the wintertime when we're feeding hay. We roll out hay in the wintertime. I've got somewhere in the neighborhood of about 90 acres ish, 85 to 90 acres fenced. And in North Carolina, you can just about, in my area, sustain 1 cow per acre in that intensive grazing, and maybe more, maybe 1 cow per 3/4 of an acre, if we get that rotation going just right and we get everything recovering just right. So our goal is 45 days of rest between grazings. So we'll have 90 individual paddocks that the cows will graze through. So
are you using like hot wire? Is that how you move them? Just stringing up temporary fence, hot wire them in, and pushing them?
Yep.
Do you run chickens through behind them or anything like that?
I do. I've got an egg mobile that the foxes definitely love. It's an all-you-can-eat fox buffet. So the chickens seem to recycle themselves. Thank goodness Murray McMurray Hatchery is a good friend of mine. But we currently have, I think, 10 or 12 chickens left out of 100. And the foxes are leaving them alone after walking out yesterday morning. And when I woke up yesterday morning, there was a fox sitting right in my front yard. And so I went out with the bang bang and took care of that. I think I winged him.
Predator control is a thing, that's for sure. You got to watch predator control.
Yep. So so what we're doing the pasture sanitation behind, kind of like the Salatin program, except for my own little twist to it. That's kind of what got me into all this. And if you guys aren't familiar with Joel Salatin up at Polyface Farm in Virginia, kind of a mentor. Just what he does is pretty amazing. Now, a lot of the things that I learned about what he does, this intensive mob grazing, and Sue can tell you this: cows don't eat just anything. They're not going to eat everything, and they're going to go for the sweetest and the best first, and they'll graze that first, and then they'll come back and they'll knock the tops out of the rest, and then they'll come back and eat the sweet best stuff again. So it's I pride myself on being an amateur cow psychologist, along with being a rancher, I guess. So and raising our own food. I mean, I've got videos out on this Friday is smoky beef barley soup, and I canned 90 cans of that stuff. Like I've got some on the stove right now.
Wow.
Tonight's supper was that beef barley soup that I made, and the video's coming out Friday, like I said, and then some fresh corn that we got right out of the garden. Like you said, the community feeding itself. So my dad grows certain things in his garden, and I grow certain things in my garden, and then we exchange in between. So
yeah,
it's good. And I provide eggs to a neighbor, and another neighbor might give me eggplant, or they might grow mushrooms or whatever. So
that's when you're building community like that, building that kind of sustainable community, and it's not 100% sustainable because nothing ever is. You're going to require inputs from somewhere, unless you're living a hard ass life. But that idea of being able to walk down the street with a basket of eggs, like you just said, and trade it for eggplant or whatever, or okra from somebody else, or whatever they've got, where everybody's working together. And a lot of people immediately dip into that. Well, that's socialism. No, it's not. These are voluntary relationships and engagements that we're entering into, not compelled to do them. So a lot of people get hung up on that. When you start talking about community and working together, a lot of people equate it immediately to socialism, which it's totally not, because this is voluntary. And it only makes sense. Yes, it's trading, bartering. So you're just bartering your surplus. And that's a fantastic.
I don't need the government involved in my eggs, and I don't need the government involved in my neighbor that raises chickens or raises hogs. We don't need them involved in this process. We don't need to be taxed on it as it's handed over to the next person and the next person and the next person, and it eventually becomes nothing either. So that's one very important part of preparing for your future and being self-sustained.
Yeah, and that's what I noticed. That's what I love about North Carolina, and that's since I got my cattle and started my little we call it the LaRue Zoo out here. What I'm really happy about is I was raised out west, West Texas and Colorado, and it's just amazing from the local governments all the way up to the EPA, how these bureaucrats just sit there and make up regulations, never go through Congress or anything, never ask, what's the third, fourth order effect, what's the long-term effects of these regulations. And they're trying to shut all these farms down all over the place, the smaller farms, and the homesteaders and stuff like that. And my whole town in West Texas, Dale City, Texas, didn't exist in 1952. It's all desert, and what they came in is they came in and drilled for water, pumped it out, and they turned the desert into an oasis of a really rich farm community. And most of the alfalfa that's raised there still today goes straight to, the Kentucky bluegrass farms and feeds the racehorses and stuff. It's high in protein and things like that. But these guys started with nothing, no electricity in the 50s, and there are lots of cattle and it's gone through transformations from, cotton to tomatoes and things like that. But there's things you got to go out there and try to do, and the community's got to work together, because Dale City, Texas was 90 miles away from El Paso, which was the closest town. And since the 50s, they've never had a doctor or anything like that. So you always have those people that you can go talk to, and somebody needs to get to the big town to get to the doctor or have an emergency. We get them out there type thing. So here in North Carolina, like Stoney was saying, that what I'm really impressed about is how fast the grass grows back here. We get plenty of rain. We got great grass feed out here. And I do the same thing with my chickens. I got a little cut inside I got a little wire floor that I can just push the droppings into bins, and I take it out there and kind of spread it around a little bit and everything, and it fertilizes real well. And I've got those 4 head out there right now, and then I'm just like, I got to get a couple feeder steers, on the 7 acres I have that's fenced in, and then I got to pull them out and put them on halters and tie them to a big rock or something to eat all this other grass, because I'm overwhelmed with grass right now. It's pretty impressive. So, and then the local, what I brought on that was the local county here in Jackson County where I live. They have really backed off of some of these regulations. The water department come back and told me, why are you pumping water into your troughs? I was like, well, I got this creek running by it and everything, and I just pump water out of the creek. And they said, well, that's fine, but you can build your fence down to the creek. And as long as you're not running 100 head, they can water right out of the creek. And I was like, wow, I wish I would have known that about 3 months ago. Thanks. So it's pretty good.
Well, that's part of what we do on the farm. So we try to fence out all the creeks because it's the right thing to do. Let's give you a little government story if you're ready for that. So I went to the local farm service office or whatever, and I said, well, I hear that I'm a veteran. I'm an Air Force veteran. I hear that there's money out here for veterans to build farms, to start farms. And I also hear that there's money from Soil and Water for me to fence out my creeks and make sure that the animals are not in a waterway, and for me to do the right thing, to set up water systems on the farm. Well, I applied, and they're like, yeah, oh yeah, there's all sorts of, I think it's called CRP money for that. Just sign up right here. We'll sign you up. So for 3 years in a row, I signed up for these programs for helping to build fences, and I fenced out. While I built fences, I fenced every creek out, every waterway out, everything, because I wanted to do the right thing. That supposedly is the right thing to do. Not put pressure on the creek, not pollute it with manure, whatever. And I pumped, like you said, I was pumping. I was using ram pumps and siphons to ponds. I built ponds to hold water on the farm, built ponds for flood control. I've built 2 ponds so far, and I've got 3 more in the works. Well, I never got anything out of it. I never got a thing in the world. And they said, well, what we need you to do, and you guys are all going to cringe about it. It's just going to make you cringe. We need you to go ahead and just drive some T-posts around and let your cows drink from the ponds and from the creeks. So we need you to put some gates in, and you need to show pressure on your ponds and creeks. That way we can justify giving you the grant money to build your water system. And we're talking about a $70,000 water system here for the farm. I said, I'm not doing that. No way. So all summer last year, I built my own water system. I have a solar well. It's totally off grid. And I ran a mile of pipe and put in all my waterers and just did it all myself. The perfect water system. And with what I do on social media, we're talking millions of views. The perfect example of what to do right for your farm, and could get no government assistance because I wasn't an idiot to start with. So I had to be an idiot to start with. I had to do it the wrong way first and damage the ecosystem first before I could get any assistance. And the people that got assistance were the people with hog farms and stuff like that, with cesspools running down into the creeks. Which
that's typical, like in Florida when FEMA comes in after a hurricane. They'll pay for your generators and fuel. They'll pay for all this stuff. But if you owned a generator prior to the hurricane arriving, they won't pay for anything. But if you're one of those people that ran out at the last minute and buy one, they'll pay for that all day long. So they're compensating you for your lack of preparedness or your lack of self-reliance, which boggles my mind. And but I'm curious too on your farm. Do you do any permaculture stuff at all, or are you just doing like traditional till gardening and then the ranching side too?
No, so all the garden now is all raised beds. All the soil in the garden is all soil that I've built. So we I have local tree companies that come in and they bring their wood chips. We put the wood chips in the manure spreader. It's actually what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. And we'll spread that out on the pasture because we have no topsoil whatsoever here. This is old, worn out tobacco land. All the topsoil is gone. So it's the whole farm is a permaculture experience. I built raised beds. I've got a wood miser sawmill, so I built raised beds. I can make, it's like this, man. I can raise my own food, hunt my own wild game, make my own vegetables, make my own lumber, everything. And we've got a greenhouse going in this year also. So everything and anything that a man, woman, family needs to survive can be produced or made right here on the farm without outside input, aside from fuel. Fuel is our only prison. And now I have a solar system and an electric tractor.
The greenhouse side of things, I can't hear this. The greenhouse side of things to me, cultures. Because T, have you ever thought about permaculture on your property? Because you're all hill all around you, but permaculture would work
Actually,
good
I have.
on your spot.
I have. I've actually been talking with Billy Bonds. Billy and I got together. He's actually going to be coming to our Fallout deal, doing a class. But permaculture,
Cool.
I think he's coming up on our show here in the future, isn't he? Do we have Billy Bonds coming on?
I'd have to look at the schedule. I'm behind right now because we've been working.
I believe
on
it was
Permapasture
Farms. But no, we definitely, we definitely need to. We're trying to incorporate that here with the hillside because we sat in this big horseshoe. It's just a big, huge horseshoe. We actually had to have a dozer come in, cut terraces down the hillside just to have flat land. And speaking of cattle, you can always tell North Carolina cattle because they're one side, their legs are a foot shorter than the other, they're standing on the side of the hill.
Appalachian cows.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Those Appalachian cows, man, they always got short legs on one side versus the other. And on that note, I was super surprised. I didn't even realize that, Josh, you were going to be on here. I was like taken back. I was like, I can't believe Stoney's going to be on here. That you found the time to hang out with the 400 million yards of concrete you still have to pour on that 32-acre complex of a garage.
Yeah, man.
That is an impressive
32-acre complex.
That thing is like a city. I'm like, man, every time I get on and watch your tube, I see you adding on there. That thing is awesome, to say the least.
Thank you.
How much more before you're done with that thing?
Oh, good gracious! I don't know, man. I need to build onto it more, right? So, what he's talking about, I call it the mega shop. Well, it's basically a Walmart on my farm. No, it's maybe a super Kmart. So what it was I needed a shop. I needed a workspace. I needed a workspace not only to work on equipment, but I also wanted a workspace and a place that, I play a little music, play guitar. You see one sitting back here. I wanted a place where I could have a farm office, where I could have a butcher shop, where I could go in and show people how to do things like we make our own apple cider. We make our own apple cider vinegar. We make our own apple wine. I'll start making wine once we get this spot all squared away. I'll do some catch, clean, cook content up there because I want to take people, because I dress a deer different than other people dress. I want to go hunting and I want to take you hunting and with me, and I want to bring you in and show you how we do it, because people say, well, it's all gamey. The way I do it, it's not gamey. So we're building a mad scientist room, which is a butcher shop area in there with a roll-up door with a rail system where I can just hook things to it and make it easy and functional.
Mm-hmm. You got the whole Dexter kill room then right there in the complex.
That's it.
So you have a walk-in cooler with the tracks going into it, so you can push them in there and hang them, let them age a little bit before you process them down.
That's the idea. But actually, the way I do it, we don't age them. So I've got a 3-bay sink system that I work with, and we've always done that since I was a kid. We skin them. Most people hang them with a single tree by the hind legs. We hang them by the neck and skin them down. I'm putting in a special bracket system and a pulley system outside, so we can skin the deer just by pulling a rope, or just hook them to the back bucket on the tractor and bring him on in, quarter him up, put him in the sink, and we've got a very cool system that takes that. You can't tell the difference. You just think it's lean beef. So we'll have all that set up, got butcher blocks. My mind does not sit still. I've got to go. The shop is 8,500 square feet right now, and we'll be building the barnuminium part of the shop pretty soon. So downstairs will be a cool spot to hang with a nice wood stove and air conditioned, because I run hot all the time, man. It's got to be cold wherever I go. And then we'll have a cooler, a walk-in cooler, butcher shop, mad scientist room where I can make all sorts of stuff. And then upstairs will be an awesome apartment, and we'll be doing some cooking shows and stuff up there. So teach people how to, again, take it from the forest floor to the tummy. So it's good stuff.
I'm gonna give a little PSA. I'm doing this tonight via Starlink. Actually, I'm in North Carolina at the moment myself, but I'm out in the middle of nowhere at my good buddy's place. My buddy Brushbeater. We're out at his classroom for a class that's coming up here starting tomorrow. So I might get a little sketchy on my side, guys. I apologize for that. It's better than what was here. So
I too am on Starlink. So
are you okay? All right.
Yep.
I was wondering.
Yep.
I'm getting one at the end of the month because I'm going to give it a shot down in Florida, where they say it's not supposed to be working yet. But looking at the map, I don't see how there's just a little hole where it doesn't work, and the rest of the state does. And the little hole happens to be where I live. So I'm going to give it a whirl. So what made you start a YouTube channel for the farm? Was it just because you had so much going on, wanted to share that stuff, or were you?
I wanted to teach, man. I mean, I see myself as a teacher. I want to teach. If I know something, if I have knowledge that I feel like could benefit somebody, then I want to share that knowledge. And the drive to teach was really the driving factor behind the YouTube thing. The first video I did was how to sharpen your bush hog blades. And I just thought, well, people would want to know how to do this. So how do you pull the blade off? How do you use a file, how to properly use a file, do it by hand, and everything that goes along with that. So that was my first video. Next video was like how to clean an oily mess up in your shop floor with kitty litter, I think is what I used. And just how-to stuff, really. And my most popular video, I think, is how to string a weed eater. So, I mean, for a farm channel, it's odd, but I really don't want to put myself in the farm channel world. I really would say that it's rural lifestyle content. So it's hot rods. It's, I went to SEMA car show. I'm a car guy. There's not a lot of content with things that go bang bang, but simply because we're kind of limited on what we can do there. But I've got good friends that are in the industry, and Noveski and Magpul, and I've been to industry hunts before down in Texas. So I'm plugged into that industry, but it's hard to touch that industry being in what I am in the rural lifestyle community.
No, most definitely. That whole monetized thing, you gotta watch it. We've actually been talked about that before, back with the first event here. So I will say that Josh made me mad. I was like, man, I'm gonna do a YouTube about chainsaws because I'm a big steel fan. I've got about 15 steel chainsaws, and then literally the next day, Stoney Ridge Farmer, hey, this is about chainsaws, how to sharpen chainsaws. I was like, man, has this guy got me bugged or something? I don't know what's going on, but it was a good one. It was good. I enjoyed it a lot. Good show. You do a lot on even tools. I mean, you've got, I'm pretty sure, every tool known to man at this point.
It's just managing tool management is part of the reason why that shop's there, man. You got to come see me. Just tool management. So I've got a whole chainsaw corner, a whole welding corner that's going in.
I don't have that kind of system whatsoever. My tool management system lacks the management side.
You just need more space. That's the secret.
I do need more space. And I'm glad you said that. Thank you, because that's going to help justify what I'm going to do. But we're going to take a quick break real quick. Let's run us a mountain readiness promo, guys. Remember, it's coming up October 20th and 22nd. You're going to want to be there. So let's
hey folks, this is T. Awesome. This is Mountain Readiness.
It doesn't matter what the event is that makes this thing go pop. It's going to be water, shelter, fire, food security. That's it. That's what you need in a nutshell.
He disappeared.
He probably ran to the bathroom. I want to remind you guys that you're watching, if you've got questions for Josh, remember, put hashtag Stoney Ridge Farmer in your comment, and we're pulling those off to the side. And in a few minutes here, we're going to start putting questions to Josh that you guys are asking. So tool management, you're not going so far as like an inventory system where you're checking stuff out yourself and checking it back in to make sure it don't get lost to you.
No, but I am, like the whiteboard that's behind you, I am going to build a maintenance schedule on my whiteboard for every piece of equipment, because I have 13 trucks on the farm and about 9 tractors, skid steers, dump trucks, ATVs, 3 ATVs, 2 UTVs, just all this equipment that is nearly impossible to keep up with the maintenance on. And wrapping my head around that. I mean, this is a major undertaking especially for one person.
Well, hearing what you just said about equipment alone, how did you finance this? Has this been just an evolutionary thing where you started with one thing and just kind of kept adding? And are you profitable at the farm? Is the farm producing income right now, or is it
2023 will be the first year of profit for the farm? And you got to think of it like this. Just say I wanted to open up a restaurant. I want to open up a Ruth's Chris, right? Well, I got to build a Ruth's Chris first.
Yeah.
And I got to hire, then I got to buy all the equipment to do it. And then I got to buy the food to do it. And so we're in the 7th year of building the farm. And this 7 years has built us up to finally earning a profit off of the farm. Last year, we lost about $800. But, along with building the farm, and people don't seem to understand this as a diversified source of income. I had a guy come up to me the other day in a restaurant, and he said, "You're Stoney Ridge Farmer, aren't you?" And he said, "Dude, you're a genius." I'm like, "I don't know about that, dude." He said, "You managed to build your farm and your dream just by talking about it." And that's what I do. I mean, people don't seem to understand that the teaching that I do and the talking about and sharing what I do and the work that's involved in the social media end of this really is a passion of mine, and that has become profitable. So that's what has bought and paid for the farm. That and some strategic moves, some strategic land purchases and sales. So I had 200 acres. I bought some land across the way, cut the property in half and sold it and paid the farm off. So
wow, nice.
And in the midst of doing what I do on social media, you have companies such as like TYM Tractors that will reach out to you and say, "Hey, Josh, we'd love to have our tractor shown on your channel. We see that you're really doing it. You're the guy that's really doing it. We want you to test our stuff." So they'll send the tractor out and I get to use it. So that's a huge part of it. I've got three tractors that I started out with basically, and then we've added on more and more pieces of machinery over time. So it's a profitable business. The social media part is a profitable business. I don't earn a ton of money. I'm sitting here in a 14 by 80 single wide mobile home with the 8,500 square foot shop. You know where my priorities lie. I sleep here. This is my office.
Yeah.
I sleep here, and the rest of it is where I live.
That's how it is around most of the world. It's just in Western developed countries that people live indoors all the time. In the rest of the world, they sleep indoors and they live outdoors.
What kind of terrain do you have on your farm? Are you in the hills, or it's pretty flat, or how? I guess my main question is, being from out west, I think those briars and all that, the undergrowth is it's like a jungle to me. Out west we don't have that kind of stuff. We don't have we didn't have the water out there or the rain, and that's what's got me going towards goats, because I got mountains and everything like that, and I want to buy some goats and just kind of let them just eat it off of there, just instead of me going out and fighting it every day. And then by the time I get something cleared out, where I started back, 2 weeks ago, is overgrown again.
Gotcha. Well, your plants are talking to you. Okay. So when you've got overgrowth and you've got spots that need work attention like that, your plants are talking to you. Goats are a great idea, but goats are a pain in the butt. Goats are little perpetual dying machines. They just want to go find a place and get in trouble and die. So that's what we started with when we first got started on the farm. I think we started with 10 goats and it turned into like 40 goats. And then the neighbor calls me while I'm sitting on the beach and says, "Hey man, the goats are up here on my porch eating my wife's flowers." I said, "Well, go outside and go." and they were fainting goats. And he's like, "Dude, that was so funny, man. It's so worth it. We want to walk the porch every night." So we started with goats, and you do need that. And where are you located, Sue?
I'm right next to Cherokee, up here
Okay.
in the Smoky Mountains.
Gotcha. So we are.
Welcome back, T.
Yeah, T.
Oh, go ahead. I was just welcoming T back. He showed back up.
Unmute T. We are. Think of Hickory. The way the land lays in Hickory. If you've been to Hickory, North Carolina.
Oh yeah, okay,
So, yeah.
Oh, I used to live in Lenore.
Yeah,
I used
so
to live
we're
up
like
Lenore.
that. We're in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. We're actually a half hour north of Greensboro, 10 minutes south of Martinsville, Virginia. So we're near Hanging Rock State Park. So we're right in the foothills where the hills roll like the Shenandoah Valley, pretty much here.
Yeah.
I used to live in Collettsville up there I was trying to buy a big place. It was 147 acres on Wilson Creek, right where it came out of the National Forest, and it was and it was flat. A lot of it was flat, and but I couldn't come to terms with the old fella. Actually, his kids convinced him to not sell it to me. Is what happened, because they wanted to sell it after he passed. So,
well, that's
it was a beautiful place. That's a nice part of the country.
Yeah, that's 20 minutes away. So back in high school days, we used to cruise around Collinsville area. So.
Yeah,
that was back when people rode around. Kids got out of the house instead of going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First guy to get a car was the most popular dude in the neighborhood.
That's it. My guidance counselor said, Josh is a good guy. Josh is a smart guy, but that car has ruined him.
All right.
Well, back to the tool. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Em. Go ahead, Sue.
Well, we were talking about his tool management and things like that, and all the maintenance on it. You got a lot of, bar oil to oil changes, fuel, that kind of thing. Have something that I wanted to talk to the viewers about, and probably we'll do a lot more of it at Fallout, is what if we get cut off from the fuel? What if we get cut off from the oil? Things like that. Or do you plan on doing any videos on hand tools, like a 2-man saw, 1-man saw, broad axes, that kind of thing for building things? Because to me, that's just amazing. I finally found, I used to have the Foxfire series books. I found them, went looked through there, and I was like, people need to stop panicking. We got plenty of skills up here. We just need to practice them a little bit. Exactly. The first fire vote, yeah. And I'm just like, that's how you build your smokehouse right there. You need an axe and a broad axe. That's it. And just get busy. Get busy.
I'm
and a crosscut saw if you got one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm slowly accumulating the old hand tools that people used to build tobacco barns. And I'm sure there are tobacco barns up your way too. The hand hewn log tool. So I've got a hewing axe now. I've got an crosscut saw, all that stuff. I've got all that. Do I see a point in time realistically? And I know there's a lot of fuel scares, I guess. I keep fuel stockpiled on the farm. I don't go buy fuel when it's expensive, and I don't complain about it when it goes up. I just buy fuel when it's cheap, and then I've got it on the farm, and I've got it treated so that it hopefully lasts. So at any given time, gasoline wise, I'll probably have 250 gallons of gasoline, which will power my sawmill for 6 months. And at any given time, I probably have 200 to 500 gallons of diesel fuel on the farm. I try to stay ahead of that. And, I worry also about power systems, and is our grid going to can we do without power? How do we do that? And like you're saying with the Foxfire books, part of a series that I'm going to do is how to build a spring house. So I've visited my great grandfather's house up in Meadows of Dan, Virginia, and we took a look and did a video inside their old spring house before they tore it all down and put a Dollar General there, which is really cool. Yeah. So the irony of that disaster, but yeah, how to refrigerate milk without refrigeration, how people did this back in 1840, 1850, and that's how I'm trying to farm also, to be self-reliant in the farming world too. So I have a crop to graze in the winter and a crop to graze in the summer, and that I'm not dependent on someone else, so that I have enough food in my larder, which is most people don't even know what a larder is, or what's a larder. It's your pantry. Okay.
I was gonna say they only know pantry these days. You gotta,
it needs to be bigger than this. We're all buying food for the next 2 weeks, and we're not thinking about the next 2 years. And I mean, I've got canned goods that I've canned up to 2 years in advance. You stay 2 years ahead all the time with your canned food, and it don't take much for a man to live. It really doesn't. You need to learn what you can eat in the forest. You need to learn that clover is sweet. You need to learn how to go find wild mushrooms and have these delicacies of the forest, but also have it in the back of your head. Even squirrel, rat, mouse. I mean, you got chickens, you got eggs. You've got chickens, you've got mice or rats. You'll never starve. A man with some chickens will never starve. Will never run low of protein. That's for sure. So they can eat anything.
100%. 100%. And on that note too, we've got Americans we are wasteful. How much do we waste?
Oh, yeah.
We all do. It's because it's readily available, or at least it is for now. When things are readily available, it's easy to say, I gotta just pitch that in the trash. Myself growing up without electricity and running water for that first 15 years. I mean, we had a spring box, we had a root cellar. We utilized all these old school technology, these things that our ancestors, our grandparents, and our great grandparents relied on because there was no electricity. So that's something we all need to look at, even if it isn't, the world ending or some craziness that goes on. Who knows where it goes, but just a natural disaster in itself. These are things that, how long were you without power here a while back? Wasn't it last year or something, Chris? You were out for a couple weeks or something, were you? There in Florida?
Yeah, hurricanes typically knock us out for a week to 2 weeks at a shot if a hurricane passes, where we get hit by it. And so, like you said, planning ahead. I've got fuel tanks on my property too. Right. They're presently empty because my fuel company canceled my account without even telling me. But they left their tanks at my house, so I just got a new fuel company, and I'm gonna be getting those filled back up.
We're just like Seaux and I talked. Turn your main breaker off to your house for a week. Test those preps. See how that works out for you. Hey, if you don't mind, Chris, real quick,
we get to do that frequently. I don't need to do that. Go ahead, T.
Real quick, I just wanted to give a shout out to I seen him come up in the comments earlier. It was Jason with Kentucky Sustainable Living. They've got a event going on right after our fallout in October. I think it's the next weekend. So good talking to you, Jason, the other day. Maybe we can get with you here soon and do a little chit chat with you. Great guy doing the same things that we are, trying to bring homesteaders and preppers and bushcrafters and everybody together to learn from one another and cross pollinate these different venues. And I wanted to also tell Christy Renee a big thank you, because she said, hey, that picture should be a poster for us to get signatures from the educators. And so this one's for you, Christy. That's number one of many we'll have at Fallout, and I'm just going to give that to you because it was a great idea. So there we go. We got posters for Fallout as well. We even got pretty Sue LaRue there. Where's he at? There he is, Sue, right there at the top, looking fabulous.
I need to grow my hair back. Yeah,
you'll be there by that time.
Well, hey, we've got a load of questions actually for Josh, and T, I'm going to ask you to read these because my connection's kind of fading and I don't want to get garbled. So
you're going to make me put on my glasses, aren't you? What do I do with my reading glasses?
Well, T, you read them out, let Josh answer them, and I'm going to step away and see if I can clean up this internet for just a second. So I'll be right back, guys.
All right. And they're in the comment section?
Well, here it is. We got Jay Knight. He said, so we found out today why our potatoes are so back ordered. The factory burned down, which, by the way, we've seen quite a bit of these distribution centers catching on fire just by accidental coincidence, I guess, over the past year and a half. What's your thoughts on that one, Josh?
Do you need potatoes? Do you really need potatoes? I mean, do you?
There you go.
We talk about foods that are necessary for survival. Do you need potatoes? Do we need more starch? Do we need more starch? I mean,
no, I do not. I do not need any potatoes at all. Yeah.
We can't get chips for our new trucks. We better go buy a new truck right now and pay $140,000 for it. I mean, just don't eat potatoes for a little bit, man. Just think about this. And we back in the day, we didn't have potatoes all year long. In 1850, we might have had, we had to store up potatoes. So buy potatoes when potatoes are available, and if they're not available, well, we don't get potatoes this week, kids.
That's it.
Right?
Another thing is how about how we lived, say, 100 years ago? I mean, really, weren't we more of seasonal eaters?
Yes.
In the summer and through spring, summer, we were utilizing the garden, and then as it started getting later, we used what we could preserve, and then in the winter is when we did our hunting and pulled meat, right? So what's wrong with being a seasonal eater? Nothing at all. There's another one. Can you read those yet, Chris, or no?
I'll try. So Will's asking, what is the best way to store meat without refrigeration, and what would be the shelf life? So there's a bunch of ways of doing that. What's your preferred way, Josh?
We've got a great series out on old-timey Appalachian hog processing, hog butchering. Search that. We'll teach you exactly how to preserve a ham from start to finish, from the cow on the hoof to the ham hanging in the smoke shack. There are many, many ways out there. There's another farm called Hand Hewn Farm. They're in Ohio. They do a lot of meat preserving. We've done some videos with those guys. Hand Hewn Farm, like a hand hewn log.
Yeah.
Great people. And there's a lot of information out there on how to preserve meat without refrigeration. I will say that it's a fine art for sure. And you can't preserve all meats. You need a fatty meat, like a 350-pound ham. Ham off of a 350-pound hog gets real fat. That fat's very important. So,
have you ever tried the lard method of preserving meat in lard, rendered lard, and let it set up on top of it? I've
heard of it. I've got a refrigerator full of lard, and it doesn't even need to be in the refrigerator. I don't know why I put it in there, but
no, I don't.
I've got several videos on how to make lard, but I've never tried preserving it. You can also can meat. So let's talk about that. I mean, there's so many options for canning meat. I did a video probably 6 months ago. I went out and I bought 200 pounds of chicken, and I canned every bit of it. When you ask the next question, I'm going to go in and get some of that so this person can see that. Trick 6. Yeah. In fact, I'll be right back. I'll go get some of that. You got to see that.
Go grab. All right. Yeah. So his question is, what is the preferred meal of choice? So for cattle. So yeah, we'll take a look at it.
Yeah. Will's asking about the cattle in the next question, but I think it's important for our viewers to realize that when we talk about these things, we're not talking about, even the preppers, if they don't like this idea. I always like to think about, being from guerrilla warfare, mindset, that sometimes you might not get to keep your property. But if you go buy these hand tools and things like that, and you learn the skills and you get bumped off of that land, at least you have the skills in your head where you can teach or pass on to your reliant community. Okay, this is how we rebuild, or this is how we start over, or this is how we sustain ourselves until we can go back to our property and get back to our equipment and chainsaws and ATVs and things like that. But I think it's
daddy. So I mean, here's what we got. We got canned turkey right here that Dad canned and gave to me the other week. Believe it or not, this is canned. This is wild turkey, canned wild turkey. That turkey was walking around the field about 6 months ago, and this is mud turtle, snapping turtle soup. So
really,
yeah. So we're canning meat, and I've got a great video out on that.
And canning that meat takes a bunch, if not all, that gamey taste out of it. I mean, I've always liked the canned meat. It smooths everything out. The stuff tastes phenomenal. I'll tell you something that I do not can anymore. I decided that I was going to can collard greens, poke growers. Yeah, it was collard greens. And I had like 255-gallon trash bags full of collard greens, and I got 1.5 pints out of that. And I said, this is a waste of time. 100%. A humongous trash bag will get you 1 quart. That's all you, little bitty jar, you know. Spent hours getting that prep. Most horrible thing I've ever did in my life.
That's why CBD oil is so expensive, man.
Yeah.
Plant's this big, but it only makes.
Yep.
Wow.
So moving on to the next one, Trick's asking about the preferred meal of choice for cattle. And then it's Kentucky Blue Ridge grass cover. And where do you graze your cattle first? So 3-part question here. I know you can see them. So
yeah, I absolutely can see them. So what we do on the farm, we have a multi-species pasture. So I totally subscribe to this idea. And again, having a medical background, and having a background in a whole lot of things, law enforcement and military, I don't believe in a monocrop system. I think that's what's destroying our country. Yep. I think a monocrop system, the whole king corn thing, where every corn's in everything and soy's in everything, is horrible. I believe that my cows need a multi-species pasture. They, you think about it like this: you like lasagna, you're going to eat lasagna one day this week, or you're going to eat lasagna for the next 60 days. You're going to be sick. Same thing with the cows. They have to eat on a multi-species pasture. So the reason we rotate and we graze them on multi-species pasture, which could be ragweed, fescue, big blue stem, bluegrass, Kentucky bluegrass, if we have any out there on the pasture, multitude of different species of grasses, weeds, legumes, clover. So there's no magic sauce there. And the land is speaking to you. The land is telling you, if the soil's too compacted, this type of weed will grow, or this type of grass will grow. If the soil is too wet, then this type of grass will grow. I call it water grass. It might be called cress. So all these different things grow in these different places, and you listen to the land, and the land teaches you how heavily you need to graze those animals on that spot. If you want change, you overgraze. If you want things to get better in the spot that they're in, then you undergraze. They eat a third, they trample a third, and they leave a third. So there's science behind using cows as little bulldozers to change the ecosystem in your soil so that you have grass to graze. That being said, we'll hit the pastures with a cool season grass, annual ryegrass this year, so that we have some green chop to feed the cows throughout the winter, because we want to keep the cows on some green also. But another school of thought is these animals don't need to be wormed. They're parasite free virtually, because they're not grazing next to their own manure. So you take what conventional cattle operation might be, which is fescue grass, and leaving them out on the same pasture until it's all gone, and then moving them over to a new pasture and then giving them grain. So you're feeding the cows one source of food in their own bathroom and expecting them to not get sick. Mm-hmm. So we can't do that.
As people, we know better than doing it to ourselves. And the same rules should apply to our livestock, our food, essentially.
That's it.
Dysentery thing where pioneers were dying, that was legit.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Right.
Don't eat in the bathroom, man.
Eat in the bathroom.
That's it.
Yeah. I have.
Yeah, it's like serving dinner on top of the septic tank. It's the same idea.
Exactly.
So,
I mean,
don't
I haven't.
That's just it. You got to watch how you do that.
Yeah. And here's what I'm going to change everybody's idea of living right now. You ever do a shower beer? Nothing like a good shower beer. Long day at work. Oh, grab you a shower beer.
Shower beer. So speaking of Christy Renee there, T, she's asking, what about fruit trees? Do they factor into the shithead fan situation? I'm going to say yes to that. But Josh, are you guys growing any fruit trees? You doing any kind of passive like that?
Every year for about 3 years, I was planting about 10 to 40 fruit trees. And what I found was fruit tree management is very intensive. And I don't know if any of you guys have raised fruit trees and been successful at it. Some fruit trees will grow very well where you are, and some fruit trees won't. The soil type is very dependent upon how well that tree will do. I found that pear trees do pretty well in my area. I plant a pear tree, it's this big. Next year, it's this big. Apple trees, I plant an apple tree this year, this big. Next year, it's this big. I mean, so and 5 years later, it's still this big. So you've got to plant the trees that you have to listen to the soil. I mean, really, you have to listen to the
you need a different variety than Charlie Brown apple trees, man, because that sounds like what those are.
Oh.
Well, we've got the same issue. The apple trees and the pear trees are great. The peach trees and the cherry trees, they are not happy with the soil here. Speaking of shower beers as well, if you need someone to get your back, we've also got Mountain Readiness. That's Tacticuzzi's right there.
Tacticuzzi's.
So now this shower beer has got your back when you take a shower right there.
There you go.
Tacticuzzi.
Is that Mace or
so you've kind of covered some of this one already, but here Will's asking, how do you manage so many cattle and or land? In other words, do you have help? Which is I was wondering. You sounds like you have a fairly sizable operation. Obviously, you've got a lot of equipment, a lot of heads of livestock, a lot of acreage to take care of. And if you're pushing cows twice a day, how many people do you have there? Are you hiring help, or is it just the family doing it right now?
It's me. It's me.
Really?
It's me.
Wow.
And then sometimes Miss Stoney Ridge. We were Mrs. Stoney Ridge, but now we're Miss Stoney Ridge. My ex-wife and I are dating again. It's just me. But man, you have to build systems in your life. And if any of you guys are prior military or prior law enforcement or preppers or bushcraft folks, it's systems. You're working on systems. So I have a system set up around my water tanks. The water is the central location for the cows, and they go out on a wagon wheel. So a pie-shaped portion is what they graze. All I have to do in order to move those cows, and literally I'll be in a hurry to do this because I need a shower beer, and I'll unhook the gate, and the cows know every day that they're moving twice a day. So early in the morning, they're out there right now. They're out there mooing because I didn't move them tonight. They're fussing, but they're right at the gate every day. When I go to move them, I open the gate. I sing their cow song like woo, and they'll go right through the gate, latch it closed, give them access to the water in that paddock, and it's just that simple. Literally, it takes longer to get there to where I've got to move them than it does to move them. So it doesn't take that much work once you get a system in place, and it's all about setting up the appropriate systems, just like you'll have in your own home, in your refrigerator. I'm sure everybody has a system in their refrigerator so perishables don't get pushed to the back. Well, we're rotating cows just like we're rotating stock in the fridge or stock in the prepper closet. It's the same thing.
Well, Josh, what do you have coming up that you want folks to know about, and where can they find you and all that good stuff? Let's get that out real quick before we wrap this one up here.
Man, you can find me on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or any of the social media outlets at Stoney Ridge Farmer. There's always something going on. I've got major construction projects with the mega shop, as T was saying. We just put up the outdoor kitchen, which is going to be super cool for butchering. We're going to be butchering hogs, hopefully by the end of the year or January. So much going on. And soon we'll start offering grazing schools and classes on the farm where people can take a small farm like I have. And 150 acres is a small farm in consideration of what a normal size farm is. There's always something going on, and it's always something different. There's different kinds of content coming out, whether it's picking the right zero-turn mower, whether it's canning veggies, or whether it's raising cows and building fences, or catching trespassers. Got a lot of that going on. It's
whole nother subject right there. Ranch security.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Do you know who Jack Spirko is?
Sounds familiar.
The survival podcast, and Jack's a big time permaculturist, and what his business model, in my opinion, is brilliant because people pay him to come to his homestead and do his projects. plant his trees, build his hugel mounds, you know, cut his drainages, do all that stuff, and they pay him for it. It sounds like you're set up where you could almost do that yourself. You could be holding classes there where people are paying you to come to your farm and perform work for you to learn these skills that you're spending all these hours and days and years of your life developing.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You know, knowledge is power. Knowledge is something that my dad and I were talking about this. He's like, man, I got to pass this on to you. I've got so much knowledge and so much that I need to share with you. And that knowledge is power. Whether it's power in the way of being stronger than someone, I don't think so. It's being able to feed yourself, to when something goes wrong, to be able to act appropriately. Everybody here needs to know this. What's the dumbest animal on the planet? What's the dumbest animal you can think of? And I'll tell you what it is.
Everybody's got an opinion on that one. My opinion is the two-legged variety.
Yeah, these mammals, these two-legged mammals.
That's the one, in my opinion.
I'll tell you, a guy told me this, and it was life-changing for me. The dumbest animal on earth is a squirrel. And why is a squirrel the dumbest animal on earth? Because
that's shitty critical thinking skills. That's why.
Yeah, when a squirrel gets in the middle of the road, he goes, and you know what, guys? If you just set your sail in one direction and check your fly to the way that you make a decision, you stick with that decision, and you check your fly to fix whatever issues that come along with that decision, then you'll be okay. If you don't, then you will fail. And that is it. Nobody succeeds by going, they just don't do it.
Agreed. Well, Josh, thanks for being here, man. Really enjoyed having you on. I wish we had more time with you because you've got just a damn wealth of information. But don't forget, guys, we'll be on Patreon, on Rumble for a little while after this. You guys know those last 30 minutes-ish, give or take, where you guys won't be able to ask questions, sadly, unless there's somebody monitoring them and throws them over our way. But we'll continue these discussions a little bit over there. So, again, Josh, thanks for being here. T, thank you, brother. Hopefully I'll see you Friday afternoon. You should come over here.
I will. I'll see you there Friday afternoon.
And Sue, buddy, thanks for being here. And
thanks, Josh. I'm gonna be watching YouTube for all weekend now. So.
Enjoyed it.
I got 1,000 questions for you. All right.
Awesome. Come see me, brother. Come see me.
Yeah, check out his YouTube channel, guys. He's got a ton of information. Like the videos, like they said, they cover the gamut of everything and in between. So
1,600 videos out there right now.
I imagine you're going to be getting some requests for beer shower videos, though. I'm just throwing it out there. That might be your only
song. I've seen plenty of comments wondering about the cow song. I think everybody that struck a chord. Everybody wants to hear the cow song.
They want to hear you serenade the cows.
Well, you're gonna have to come to a live stream out there. Well, you'll hear it. I was live on my channel for an hour and 25 minutes before you guys, so you can check out the cow song over on my channel.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, we'll catch you guys on Patreon if you're coming. Josh, thanks for being here, and guys, you know the drill. Be good or be good at it.
One of the 5 things in the First Amendment is the freedom of speech. It doesn't say unless it hurts somebody's feelings.